5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Hey guys, welcome to MB Tech Talker. My name's Matt. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install Active Directory certificate services on Windows Server 2016 in order to complete a certificate signing request. I will then show you how to configure SSL forward proxy using these certificates so that you can decrypt your network traffic. I will show you how to do all of this on a VM series next generation firewall using VMware Workstation. If you haven't watched my previous Palo Alto Networks firewall videos, please do this now so you are ready to follow along with this lab. Hopefully you'll enjoy this video. If you do, please like it and please consider subscribing to my channel. It really does help me. Okay, so why do we need to decrypt traffic? Depending on what you read and who you speak to, we can safely say that over 85% of internet traffic is encrypted. Businesses have a need to have as much visibility into traffic coming in and out of their networks as possible. Palo Alto's next generation firewalls have the ability to decrypt SSL inbound, outbound and SSH traffic. In this lab, I'm going to concentrate on SSL forward proxy decryption. You can find lots of information about decryption and how to configure the firewall by visiting https://docs.paloaltonetworks.com. Okay, so these are the lab prerequisites. We need a Windows 2016 server up and running in VMware Workstation with the Active Directory installed. A Windows 10 client joined to the Windows domain. Both the domain controller and Windows 10 client should have access to the internet, and we need access to the Palo Alto Networks firewall web UI from the Active Directory server. The lab objectives are as follows: install and configure a certificate authority in Windows Server 2016, configure the firewall's hostname, configure the firewall's domain, confirm that the DNS server is set to the internal DNS server, so that's the Windows 2016 server, create the firewall trust and untrust certificates, complete the CSR using Active Directory Certificate Services web enrollment, configure the decryption security policies, and test that the traffic is being decrypted. Okay, so let's begin by installing the certificate authority in Windows Server 2016. Let's open up the server manager and then go to manage and then select add roles and features, and then click next. And it's going to be a role based or feature based installation. Then click next. Make sure that your server is selected and then click next. And we are going to be installing Active Directory Certificate Services, so we're going to tick that one, add the features, and then next, and next, and next. And we're going to be installing the certification authority web enrollment, and then add feature, and then click next. And we'll tick the restart destination server automatically if required. I don't think it will need to reboot, and then we're going to install. Okay, so we can close that window and you will notice a yellow triangle here. We need to click on this hyperlink here, and we're going to click next, and we're going to tick these two first boxes and then click next, and then we're going to do enterprise CA, root CA, create a new private key. Just going to leave these cryptographic options as default. Click next. Just going to leave these names at the default. Click next, and then the validity period is 5 years. Just leave that one. Next, next, and then click configure, and then allow it to do its stuff. And there we go, the configuration has succeeded, and we can close. And if we go to tools and IIS. And if you expand these sites and default site and then cert serve, you can see that it's been installed, and you can even click here to browse and choose to open with Internet Explorer, and there you go, Microsoft Active Directory Certificate Services is installed. So that's the first objective completed. We'll move on to the next. Okay, the next step is to open up a new tab, and we're going to browse to the management IP of the firewall, 192.168.21.21. Hit continue, log in with the default credentials, click OK. Okay, so once you're logged in, go to the device tab and management tab, and what I'm going to do is change the host name to be something a bit more descriptive. So WS VM50 FW01, and I'm going to put my domain in here, which is mbtech.local, and then click OK on that and hit the services tab. Just want to confirm you've got a primary DNS server set as the Active Directory. So let's just do a CMD. I'm just going to do an IP config. As you can see, it is 10.4.4.100. So we need to change this to 10.4.4.100 because this server, this AD server, is running DNS, and then I know that it's all been configured correctly, and then we can commit that change. And while that's doing the commit, we can go to Server Manager and Tools and go to DNS, and I'm going to expand this and go to forward lookup zones, and I'm going to go to my mbtech.local, and I'm going to add a new A record for the firewall. So I put WS VM50 FW01, and the IP address of the interface, which is the default gateway for this AD server, is 10.4.4.254, and then add the host. Click OK and done. You can close this down. And what we're going to do is just going to open a command prompt, and we're going to ping the host name now. So ping ping WS VM50 FW01, and that should resolve to the IP address of the firewall's interface, which it does. So that's finished, and we can move on to the next task. Okay, so next I'm going to generate a key pair on the firewall and send it to the Microsoft CA, and in return the CA will generate a signed certificate which will be used to encrypt communications between the user and the firewall. So the first steps is to generate a certificate. So still on the device tab, go over to certificates, and then we're going to hit generate and then give the certificate a name. I'm just going to call it Trust Cert. Common name is going to be the host name of the file that I set earlier. So in my case it's WS VM50-FW01. It's going to be signed by the external authority, which is the Microsoft CA server. And then if you want to add any additional attributes to the certificate, you can select them here. I'm just going to leave mine blank and click generate. So that's generated that, ready for the CSR. Status is pending. So if we highlight the cert, and then we're going to export the certificate, going to save and then save as, and then we can just leave it at the default name and then just save. Then if we browse to the folder, and then we can open it with Notepad, and then click OK. OK, and then select all the text, copy it, close the Notepad, close the window, and then we can go back to the Microsoft Active Directory certificate authority, and then we can request a new certificate, and then advanced certificate request. Submit a certificate request by using base 64 because the firewall supports base 64. Copy and paste the text into that box, and then for the certificate template we're going to have subordinate certification authority, and then hit submit. Make sure you choose base 64 and then download the certificate, and then you can save that on the desktop as well. And then we can close this window. So there's the new certificate. We can now go back to the firewall. Now we're going to import the signed certificate. So we're going to click on import. And we need to make sure that the certificate name is the same as when we did the CSR. So it is trust cert. And then browse for the certificate file, which is the CR file, and then open, and then click OK. So that's now imported in successfully, and the status is valid. So we can move on to the next step now. Okay, so now it's time to import the root CA. So let's get back to the Active Directory Certificate Services page. So make sure you're on the home page. And we're going to download a CA certificate. We're going to make sure it's base 64, and then click on download CA certificate. Go to save as, and then you're going to rename this to a name of your choice. I'm going to call it root, and then save. And now we can go back to the firewall, and then we can import the root CA. So we're going to call this root CA, and then we're going to browse to the file, and then click open, and then OK. So the certificate's successfully imported in, and you can see that the trust cert is now nested under the root CA. So if we open up the trust cert, we need to tick forward trust certificate and then click OK. This will be used between the client and the firewall to encrypt data. So just take note of the forward trust certificate usage there. So next we're going to create a certificate that's not trusted, so an untrusted certificate. So we're going to do generate. We're going to give the certificate a name. This time it's going to be untrust cert, and then I'm just going to give it a common name of CA, and then it's self-signed, so it's a certificate. So the firewall's going to act as the certificate authority, and then click generate and click OK. And then if we click on the untrust cert, we're now going to mark this to be the untrusted certificate, so the forward untrust certificate. So click OK, and you can see now that's changed to forward untrust certificate. So we can move on to the next step. Okay, so let's move on to creating the decryption policy. So we're going to click on the policies tab, and then decryption, and then click add. And then first of all, we're going to add the do not decrypt policy. So do not decrypt. And source tab is going to be all the internal zones, so DC, DMZ, and users. And then the destination is going to be the internet zone, which is going to be the untrust. And then on the services tab, we're going to have any service. We're going to select some URL categories of health and medicine. We're going to do financial services, government, and shopping. Now the reason we choose these is these belong to sensitive categories. So in a production environment, a conversation should be had with the legal and compliance team to decide what to decrypt and what not to decrypt. So under the options tab, we're going to leave the defaults to no decrypt, and it should be SSL forward proxy, and then click OK. And then we're going to create a second rule which goes underneath, which is a decrypt policy. So the same source zones again, DC, DMZ, and users. And then destination is going to be the internet again, which is untrust. And then the service is going to be any. We're not going to choose any URL categories, but in the options we're going to change this to decrypt and then click OK. So basically what will happen is the second rule will be the same. So the second rule is identical. However, in a nutshell, traffic that matches the first rule will not decrypt these URL categories, but everything else will be decrypted from the same source zones. Okay, so that's completed. We can commit all the changes, and then once that's done, we can then test the outcome of the decryption configuration. Okay, so let's see if this configuration has been successful. Let's open up a new tab and let's go to Facebook. Facebook uses SSL, so if we click on the padlock and then view certificates, you can see that the firewall has issued the certificate and not Facebook. This certificate is trusted and is used to communicate between the firewall and the client devices. If we go a step further, if you go over to settings and then internet options, content, certificates, and you'll see that in both the intermediate and trusted root certification authorities, the certificate has been automatically added because the machine is joined to the domain. This is a huge benefit of using Active Directory certificate services. There's no need to manually install certificates on the endpoints one by one. So let's go and check the Windows 10 machine to make sure that the certificate has been installed on that one as well. Okay, so I'm going to manually update Windows Group Policy to make sure that the certificates get installed. So let's open up a command prompt and issue the gp update /force. And then once that's successfully updated, we'll go to a browser and then we'll test connectivity. So that's good. And let's open up Internet Explorer and let's go to Krebs on security and let's check the certificate. So this looks good. So view the certificate. We got the firewall certificate issued there, which is good. So that's working. What about if we went to a bad website? So let's go to badssl.com. We're going to go to the untrusted certificate, and that's working as well. So we've been presented with an untrusted certificate from the firewall issued by CA. So if we go back to Windows 2016 server, went to device and certificates, this is the untrusted certificate that we've just been presented to with the subject common name CA. So that's working. Let's take a look at the firewall logs. Go to the monitor tab and traffic, we're interested in the Active Directory server. So in the source column, click on 10.4.4.100 and that will add this filter, and then you can hit enter and that will only show traffic sourcing from the Active Directory server. And if we want to see if the traffic's been encrypted, we can add a new column. So select up here in the top and then click on columns and then check decrypted. Now we've got an additional column and it tells us which traffic has been encrypted and which traffic hasn't. And then if you click on the magnifying glass, you can verify this further by looking in the flags, and you can see that the decrypted flag has been set. So this has been a successful lab. The decryption is working. We've tested it with the Windows 10 client and the Windows 16 server. We've seen the traffic being decrypted. I hope this has been interesting and you found it useful. If you did, please leave a like and any comments below. And if you want to, please subscribe. It's really useful. Thank you very much. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Over the next coming weeks, I will be uploading more videos where I will be sharing more content about Palo Alto firewall features and technologies and how to configure them. If you like this video, I'm sure you know what to do by now, but just in case you don't, please hit that like button below and share with your friends, and be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell to get notified every single time I post a new video. If you have any ideas of video content you want me to create, please put them in the comments below, as I would love to hear your feedback on any aspect of my channel. Please keep watching and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.